Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Mother succumbs to injuries from St. Mary arson attack. Portmore councillors seeking intervention in pending demolition exercise. And later in sports, West Indies keeps hope alive in T20 World Cup. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. We begin with news. With a TVJ News follow-up, the mother of a 4-year-old girl who perished in a house fire yesterday has succumbed to her injuries. 38-year-old Rose Beecher of Dean Penn District, Highgate St. Mary, was among 7 persons inside their 3-bedroom board house when they were awoken by a loud explosion and the smell of gasoline and realized the house was on fire. They ran from the house and realized that 4-year-old Faria Cohen was left inside. They were unable to go back for her because of the extent of the blaze. The house was burnt to the ground and the remains of Faria was later seen on a burnt-out mattress. Miss Rose Beecher, who received extensive burns all over her body, was rushed to the Portmore hospital where she was admitted in serious condition. However, Miss Rose Beecher was pronounced dead at hospital sometime after 9 Tuesday evening. As the Westmoreland Police ramp up its Operation Reset to restore order to the parish capital, a call from those who operate in the area to delay the implementation. The vendors and transport operators list several issues that they say should have been addressed before they pressed the reset button. Cops out in their numbers early Tuesday morning to reset law and order in the parish capital. According to Commanding Officer for the Westmoreland Police, SSP Wayne Josephs, the 3-prong approach seeks to address illegal vending, unruly transport operators and delivery trucks operating outside the agreed days and times. However, vendors and taxi operators believe the plan has fundamental issues. The vendors are objecting to selling in the market for several reasons. Firstly, security concerns.
3 o'clock we pull out of the market because you have thief will come round and just watch me. And when them come now and watch me now, by 5 o'clock they come back in the market and anywhere with it, they might find me and try to rob me.
Then there is infrastructural condition.
Not in Big Pen look like the market. Look at the market top. When you're inside of the market, you are looking at the blue sky. If the rain is falling, the people them have to take a lot of plastic and all kind of something to cover up them goods.
And
one bag of onion and nearly 3 months now I sit on the car in the stall here. Nothing, nobody not passing around here to buy anything.
As for the transport operators, they say facilities such as the market, banks and other business are at one end of the town, while they are being asked to drop off passengers at the bus park at the other end of the town.
And all these things right here, and it makes no sense for us to drop them off right here at the bus park and then they have at least a mile to walk down there. There are people that walking with canes and all this stuff. We have to take these things in consideration.
We put these issues to SSP Josephs.
They are genuine concerns, and those are concerns that we'll be discussing with the parish council. But at the same time, we cannot halt our operations waiting on that to happen, because those things might not happen immediately. But we need to get control back of the town now.
Operation Relentless is another action the police started in September, which SSP Joseph says has so far seen the arrest of several wanted persons, as well as the recovery of 6 illegal guns. The fact-finding team probing the allegations of the poor working conditions of Jamaican farm workers in Canada says despite the hesitancy of some of the Jamaicans, valuable information has been obtained to and in the investigations. Now, Team Chair Trade Unionist Eileen Davis-White says approximately 600 Jamaicans from 70 farms are expected to be interviewed when it wraps up the visit next week. The first set of investigators returned from Canada on Monday. The other team is scheduled to return next week, Monday. Now, speaking on Beyond the Headlines on Tuesday, Mrs. Davis-White declined to divulge the findings so far.
Because of the approach that we adopted, where we actually interviewed them individually. You did get a sense from some that they were still a bit hesitant and probably suspicious. But at the end of the day, we were able to get, I think, information that, well, they felt comfortably enough to give us information that as to what was happening with them.
So what are the kind of things you heard?
I don't want to go into that now since we have people in the field still. I think after that team has returned, we should be able to go into more details. By then, would have gotten more information and would have started the process of collating and presenting the data.
Labour Minister Carl Smuda last month appointed the tripartite team to observe operations at Canadian farms after a number of Jamaicans complained that they were carrying out duties under inhumane conditions. And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. Much more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Questions are being raised about the bureaucracy preventing the demolition of a building in Portmore, St. Catherine. The abandoned building is a prime concern for councillors and the police, who are now seeking assistance in getting it done. A concerted effort is being made by councillors in Portmore, St. Catherine for a building located on Port Henderson Road, more popularly known as Back Road, to be demolished. The building, which has been unoccupied for years, has become a sore point for the municipal corporation and the police. They told our news team that the building, which is inhabitable, has become a safe haven for acts of criminality, including prostitution and the sale of illegal drugs. Councillors of the Portmore municipality have moved a motion to have the building demolished. However, that has not borne fruit. It's why Deputy Mayor and Councillor for the Edgewater Division, Alric Campbell, is now seeking the intervention of the larger St. Catherine Municipal Corporation.
We have gone through a process on advice from the police in St. Catherine South that criminal elements would have taken over and is running a commercial building within the municipality. A few years ago, we would have written a joint correspondence with the police to the JDF Corps of Engineers. We went ahead and got a demolition order from the courts, and to date, nothing has come.
He has therefore asked St. Catherine Municipal Corporation Chairman Norman Scott to use his influence in getting the demolition exercise carried out.
Since the Prime Minister has taken on this demolition, I would just want to ask you to ask him to assist us in Portmore to get that building which the police, not Alric Campbell, but the police has indicated that is being run and controlled by criminals, to do that demolition for us so that the people of the municipality can be secured.
The comments by Mr. Campbell follow the demolition exercise which was carried out in Clifton, where some 10 houses were demolished. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck has suggested the Integrity Commission utilize a reporting style similar to how the Auditor General operates. The proposal came in response to request from the Integrity Commission to get more powers so it can alert the public when it has undertaken corruption investigations against public officials or state entities.
The best example really of what I think should be pursued is the Auditor General, who have said, don't send out press releases. That office complete their investigation, report to Parliament, and the benefit of their reports, as Member Robinson will know, exposes problems in the public sector. And they're given wide-scale publicity once they're tabled in Parliament. But I don't see the Auditor General sending out regularly that they're investigating ministries.
Mr. Chuck is part of a Joint Select Committee of Parliament studying the Integrity Commission Act, and he argued that if the Commission wants to be given powers to notify the public when it starts investigations, it may have to support the creation of a fund for persons to receive compensation if their reputations are negatively impacted in cases where the Commission's investigations find nothing.
That compensation to be assessed by a court of law or by a tribunal must be paid by the IC to the person who is affected.
Member Chuck, any companies, well, any funds that the IC has, the government funds. And so that's where the money will be coming from.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
The latest data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica shows that the inflation rate at 1.4% for the month of September was mainly impacted by a 9.2% rise in the group electricity, gas and other fuels, which triggered a 4.1% rise in the index for the division housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels.
This resulted mainly from the cessation of the government of Jamaica's 20% subsidy on electricity bills for customers who use 200 kilowatts per hour or less. The inflation rate was also impacted by a 1.1% rise in the index for the division, food and non-alcoholic beverages, primarily attributable to higher prices of items within the class, vegetables, tubers, plantains, cooking bananas and
Still, annual or point-to-point inflation was back below double digits at 9.3%, down from 10.2% in August. In business internationally, UK food prices are rising at their fastest rate in 42 years as the cost of living crisis continues to squeeze household budgets. Food costs jumped 14.6% in the year to September, the biggest rise since 1980, with bread, cereal, meat and dairy prices all climbing. It comes as people also struggle with higher energy and transportation costs. Overall inflation surged to 10.1% last month and is expected to climb further. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In this evening's health report, we look at Down syndrome.
The expected longevity for people living with Down syndrome has increased to around 60 years, up from teens to 20 years, say 20 years ago. So these interventions, although they don't cure the condition, they certainly help a person living with Down syndrome to achieve their full potential and certainly the quality of life.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. How to deal with a child who has Down syndrome. Give your child chores around the house. Have your child play with other kids who do and don't have Down syndrome. Keep your expectations high as your child tries to learn new things, and support your child in doing day-to-day activities on their own.
And it's now time for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Bahamas Press Secretary Clint Watson has sincerely apologized for his comments about women's groups being quiet on the issue of marital rape. He acknowledged that he made inaccurate comments about the efforts of the women's rights groups in the country. Watson says he should have been more aware of their active involvement in the consultations process. Marital rape is currently not a crime in the Bahamas. However, there have been renewed calls for the Davis administration to address this gap in legislation. As a result, last month, the Bahamian government released for consultation a draft amendment to the Sexual Offences Act that seeks to criminalize marital rape and redefine what consent is. On the international scene, Nestle USA has announced a voluntary recall of its ready-to-bake Nestle Toll House stuffed chocolate chip cookie dough with fudge filling product. According to the Food and Drug Administration, the items in question may contain small pieces of plastic. The recall is in effect for the dough produced between June and September of this year. There are no reports of related illnesses or injuries, and officials say this move is being taken out of caution. Consumers are advised to return the dough to the place of purchase for a full refund. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And still on the international scene, Suella Braverman has resigned as Home Secretary after sending an official document to a parliamentary colleague using her personal email. She said people should accept responsibility for mistakes and added, quote, "Pretending we haven't made mistakes is not serious politics," end quote. She also used her resignation letter to attack Liz Truss's policies. Now, writing to Ms. Truss, she said, quote, I have concerns about the direction of this government, end quote. Ms. Braverman is the second minister to leave government during the premiership of Liz Truss. And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Fort will have your midday sports report.